Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Smite Pro League. Gandhi, joined by DM, and it's a Sunday. Beautiful day here. Beautiful day.
It's actually really cloudy and it was cold.
I know that's what I mean. It's perfect gaming weather for us to not feel bad about being inside all day, which is always a plus.
So
You would take the negative approach, by the way.
This is the first two games of the day. It's going to be the European side.
Yep.
We're starting out with first seed Exposed Secrets at their 6-3 win-loss ratio. Of course, they are tied with Mortality.
Yep.
Going up against Team SoloMid. Now, if TSM wins this game, they will actually have themselves, Cloud9, HyperX, and Exposed Secrets all tied.
Yeah, this is going to be a big one, and TSM's been looking very, very good recently here.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because when you look back at it, they're kind of known for forcing the late game and kind of just controlling the objectives, and they kind of got away from that in week 1 and 2, and now we're seeing they're back at it and they're looking great.
So they're playing that PvE game, waiting there, just biding their time until their hyper carries come online, like yesterday with Lobster, who was, basically 0 in a million, not becoming a part of any team fight whatsoever, and then late game happened, he goes, oh yeah, Crushing Wave hit 3 people and our team, won the game because I'm amazing.
Dude, his Habois really went in. But taking a look at the bans here, we do have a Loki and Zhang Kui here coming out, as well as a Nuwa and a Mercury. I like the Mercury ban. Get Mercury out.
I'm shaking my head because Rama was locked in, and that means Geb was not again. Though I know TSM likes some Wukong. We saw Trix Tank play it for the first time since basically the launch tournament, and he did amazingly.
Yeah? Wukong? And I think we're going to see a lot of more Wukong here.
I would like to see it.
I think so too, but, there's always that chance I get to see my Bacchus. I love my Bacchus here. And as they're looking over it here, I mean, Zhang Kui being gone, so we most likely won't see a Nemesis.
Right. I mean, it's unlikely. Yeah. TSM's options are here, and it looks like their picks are going to be coming through in just a second. Remember, guys, again, TSM needs this. If they get this, they'll be tied second seed with 2 other teams.
This is big.
We're going to see a hover onto Janus as well as Freya, both locked in, a lot of magical damage, and we've seen that pay off dividends before.
Yeah, and Freya's just been doing so much damage here in the SPL. Her presence is felt in the early, middle, and late game.
Zalia most likely going to get the mana here. I like this a lot. Plus the Ra for the extra healing. Yep. Expect a Weakening Curse plus maybe even a Divine Ruin after that as well.
I actually am going to have to disagree with you here. And this is mainly... Okay, yeah, there's your gap. I know, you're excited, but let me drop some. Vamana here is actually Zalia's best character right now in the SPL. He's 2-0.
Yeah, by far.
He is going to crush.
Yeah, well, they need the Weakening Curse. They need some kind of either Divine Ruin or Brawler's Beat Stick to shut it down as well. I mean, they need to make sure this baby gets locked down. Plus, healing from Freya, imminent lifesteal going to be coming out of Rama. Very smart. Bans coming through. It looks like Ymir's going to get taken off the table. This is strange to me.
I think they may have watched the games yesterday, and they're just afraid of like the awkward engagement with the beads blinking and everything. But yeah, he does do a lot of damage, so I guess it makes sense. I mean, at least we didn't see an Athena ban.
That's true. On her gets banned out as well. Left side is going to have their option for final 2 of their team once we see one more come out from TSM. Smek has the option here. They still probably don't have their Hunter. Freya generally doesn't wind up in the hands of Smek all that much. He prefers the, I guess, more traditional hunters. Apollo's still on the table. Artemis as well. Rama, of course, has been taken out. We've seen Neith a few times lately, but not really enough to warrant it.
Is that really just because of the global presence here, as we are going to see?
It's super huge.
Yeah.
Being able to have a presence in a team fight without leaving your lane and continuing that push, I mean, that's just something all hunters love.
Yep. Especially just because, we're seeing that all hunters are like, oh, okay, we're staying in this lane and we're not moving, which I think is why Apollo is as good as he is. Granted, I mean, he does amazing damage, and he gets so many free hits because of his kit, but, he can make those fights into the team fight in the middle.
Thor and Sun Wukong both going to be locked in. Thor's going to be your jungler, but there's an issue here. That is 4 physicals right now, and a Ra who isn't really known for his damage. I mean, there's a lot of healing there. So a Weakening Curse and physical defense really going to shut this line from Exposed down. They need to get a very early lead and use that physical damage to push towers as hard as they possibly can. Objectives, of course, are going to take more damage from characters that are going to swing harder from their in-hand attacks. Yep. Right side, TSM already has a decent mix with Apollo there. They have one more option. This is likely... it's a Guan Yu.
Guan Yu.
What's
they haven't seen that yet.
What's Guan doing? Where's he going?
I don't know.
Is that it looks like it's going to go into the hands of Zimstar, which means that's going to be solo. Zimstar is taking the place of Game Hunter today on the roster.
Which is a humongous hit to TSM. Just by the way, I know we should have probably talked about that really early on, but we forgot because we got excited. But yeah, Game Hunter wasn't able to do this
Right.
one, and so having a sub, those are very, very big shoes to fill, my man.
Zimp is a decent player. He's definitely one of the more competent subs between NA or EU. So
Okay.
he definitely has a lot of prowess. But again, the boots are pretty big. I mean, Game Hunter is one of the most talked about players in the entire world. But
For good reason.
I mean, but Zimp is an extremely knowledgeable and really he's a fantastic player. He's very high ranked in this game. He's very high ranked in League of Legends as well.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
He's a multi-gamer.
He's challenger.
I respect people who are the multi-gamers.
Absolutely,
Those are the people
absolutely.
who actually are the true gamers, I believe.
I
If
agree.
you have your one niche, you're just a niche guy.
Ooh.
Yeah. I said that to Dry Bear, too. He was like, oh, I'm a multi-gamer. I was like, you're a niche guy. I know
He's
you.
kind of a niche
He's a niche guy. He's a niche guy.
He got stuck in Blighttown, and I'm just I'm out.
I don't want any pieces of
Zimp
that pie.
has, normally it would be one thing just to fill Game Hunter shoes, but he's not only going up against Zalia, but he's going up against Zalia's strongest character right now in Vamana.
It's going to be tough. I mean, but that's the thing, right? Exposed Secrets, looking at their lineup, obviously, you already commented on it. They have a lot of physical power.
Right.
They need Azalea to really blow through this lane and steamroll it. And, that's the funny thing, because coming up next, we do have Mortality. And I was sitting there, I was talking to Kevin and the rest of the production team, and I was like, the problem with Sayo that we've seen out of him, he doesn't just lose. If he loses the lane, he goes down like 0-3.
Right.
And he gets blown out of the water. That's not something we're going to see out of Azalea.
To the same regard, though, if Sayo gets that first blood,
Yeah.
he usually winds up 16-0 and
Oh.
450,000 assists.
Yeah, he swings for the fences, man.
I almost, originally when the game came out, the first real pro scene we had, there was no jungle. It was a 2-1-2.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was awesome too because Sayo played mid back then, and he would do anything. I remember he used to play Nasha mid with a red pot, and just like at level 2, dash at you and just try to kill you. Like right then, that was his goal. He just loves to fight, and you got to respect that. It's why he's one of my favorite players to watch. It's also one of the reasons I love Exposed Secrets because Half Devil and Frostyak love going in. And Shadow Nightmare, I mean, this guy is just always putting himself in team fights, putting himself in harm's way, whereas TSM's kind of the other way.
Yep.
They like to kind of hang back, wait for it. The whole Tricks Tank Smek is a very campy lane comparatively to what we used to see from Young Bay.
Yeah, and we saw yesterday out of Exposed Secrets was Shadow Nightmare doing an amazing job throughout the entire time. There was that last engagement, right, where he got basically swarmed on by the entire team, and he was able to get out of there with Ra, turns around, comes back, puts his ultimate to use, throws down his heal. What did he heal for, like
24,000?
24,000?
Yeah,
something just
ridiculous.
absolutely stupid. So TSM has to try to find a way to counter that, which I think is why Ra has so much stock in him right now because of how much healing. Like, if the
Right.
game goes late, plus the Fire Giant, it's like, how do you stop it?
It's always curious to me to see Shadow Nightmare playing normal gods. I mean, back when he first came onto the pro scene, he was playing Zeus mid before Zeus was even close to relevant.
I love Zeus.
He was playing Anubis mid. He
Ugh.
was playing Freya mid. I mean, the guy would just do ridiculous things. He would force ridiculous bans. I mean, this is the guy that most of the pro scene attributes to bringing Zeus back in before Zeus got buffed and banned every single game for 4 months. It was kind of actually pretty crazy to watch. But we're getting into the game here in just a second. Again, guys, Exposed Secrets top seed going against TSM. If TSM wins this game, they actually tie both Exposed Secrets and Cloud9.
This could get gnarly,
it
especially
could.
for the EU scene. On the other side, though, Exposed Secrets wins this, and then Mortality loses. They clinch the #1 spot.
Oh, by a big margin.
So this
Yeah.
these are a lot of big matches here on basically the final. This is the final day for EU.
Well,
Yeah, no, for EU. NA has the Monday matches.
we don't have any EU matches tomorrow?
Nope.
No EU matches. Only
No.
NA matches.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So we
Talked
have,
over that
3
with the head
reschedules
ref
tomorrow.
this morning. Dan, I was like, Dan, well, week 3 isn't done. We have Monday, and he was like, oh no, EU's done.
Oh, so okay, so
Yeah.
these are the final 2 games for week 3, and then we'll go into the bye week. We're into the game here.
I'm so happy.
Bottom side going to be Exposed Secrets. Top side, Team Solo mid, and again fighting pretty much for first seed contention.
Yeah, and we're going to be seeing possibly an early invade here. And taking a look at the early builds, we have Zalia with a heavy hammer and Half Devil with a heavy hammer. you're got to be happy with that one, aren't you?
I love it. Zimstar had the opportunity, but it actually instead, I don't mind him not getting it here. He goes into the steel mail for 200 health, 40 protection. It's going to actually protect him against 4 of the members of Exposed Secrets. And given the fact that Ra's damage is pretty low, he's not going to be too worried. On top of the fact, once he gets this into Mystical Mail, this is going to do serious damage. It's basically going to double his damage outright, on top of the fact that it's going to protect him from most of the damage on the field.
Yeah, well, Exposed Secrets trying to initiate a little tomfoolery here. You can see the pings. There is no ward coverage down here, and we are going to have a little bit of a game pause. Let me ask you this. What do you think we are going to be seeing out of them? What is Exposed Secrets trying to pull? Are they trying to get the break here on the mid-Harpies?
You know, right off the bat, I mean, it looks like we have a 5-man grouping. They could be, I think, maybe contending to go in for a blue steal. It could be going in for the mid-camps, like you said. What I'm really looking at, moreover, is that we have 4 physical on Exposed Secrets, and then TSM has 2 physical, which is also going to play great to the solo lane because there's a magical jungler in Freya, which means Vamana can't build against ganks. If he builds against ganks, then he's going to lose too much damage against Guan Yu. If he builds against Guan Yu, he's going to lose too much protection against the ganks. I mean, both the...
So he needs to actually kind of snowball early so he can just not have to worry about going for any kind of counter at all. He just needs to basically be like, I am here and I'm going to crush your lives.
Yeah, I mean, he has to get in there as fast as possible. You see the heavy hammers out. Likely next time it's going to be Heartseeker, but, you know, he has his work cut out for him against this lineup.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we have yet another pause. The players are having a little bit of technical
I'm not
difficulties.
Wearing a vest.
You have no vest.
No
we
vest.
don't have any spec issues, though. This is the player side. So we're going to hop to a quick break. When we come back, we should have the game. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. The pauses are done. TSM only has 1 pause left, or they will be facing the consequences.
That's right, and at this point, if anyone else has connectivity issues or crashes out, they're going to be in some trouble. So they got to make sure they're careful about what they're doing. Even so, Exposed Secrets starts off bottom side. It looks like they're going to be cleaning out most of the jungle in the normal fashion. Top side, we're going to see Freya and Guan Yu heading to lane in just a second. The blue buff on top side has been taken as well, and each of the mid laners will each have received just the mid camps.
Now, in case anyone was wondering what happened with that 5-man grouping earlier on, absolutely nothing happened.
Not even a little bit.
There wasn't even any deep wards placed.
No, they were just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, I guess they were looking for maybe like an early pick.
Honestly, they should not have been doing that. I mean, if they caught someone, fine, but they almost wasted too much time there. They did get back. Everything wound up working out. Now, Zalia and Frostiak, I mean, this is kind of what I'm looking at here. If they can get a good pick onto Freya, that should be a pretty early kill.
Yeah, well, Zalia and Frostiak trying to get there. Then in comes the spin to win, just clearing up the wave here, nothing crazy. And, you know, Zalia, even with that blue buff, still uses so much mana.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the baby, by the time he uses usually 4 or 5 spells, he's so he's going to need to kind of abuse the fact that he has that mana regen now, because when that thing wears off, it's going to be hard for him to push.
Now, look at Zimstar actually going with the steel mail right off the rip. Do you like that decision?
Yeah, it's perfect. Not only is it going to be able to contend with Zalia's damage, but of course it's going to give him enough sustainability and enough defense to deal with the 4 physical lineup.
Yeah, well, Zalia going to go ahead and rotate back here. Meanwhile, in the duo lane here, Rom, Funballer just really throwing down some damage. Trixtank, though, he's been playing so good lately.
I mean, he's just an amazing player. He always has been. You know, a lot of the people who were at the launch tournament attribute their success to Trixtank. And there was one steal at the Fire Giant where he said, I didn't even know if they were doing it. I just decided to roll on in there. And he wound up stealing the Fire Giant and getting out. He's kind of saving his team in the process.
Yeah, sometimes you just feel the rhythm. You know, you just get those accidentally lucky breaks. And luck is a factor. Now, one thing I do want to point out here is that we did just see Thor actually take the damage buff here from TSM, and now Half Devil actually is rewarded with the red buff. So this could be a little bit interesting here for the lane presence.
He actually got a pretty big chunk of experience as well. Half Devil rotating pretty early here. There's still about 30 seconds until we even see a grouping for the side camps there, so I'm very surprised to see him kind of doing that. It looks like he did place a ward down. No, he did not place a ward down.
No.
He's just going to back to the base here, spend some money. It looks like he has bought boots, some wards, and not really all that much else. He has about 450 gold in hand right now. Trixtank sitting at about 900 himself, minus the boots cost. He has a very, very tiny lead that he could abuse, but he has to be careful because whoever gets those Midas boots online first is going to have an advantage.
Yeah, and, you know, I looked over into the solo lane again, and I saw a little group, and I was like, no, it's the baby.
Half Devil jumping onto Trix Tank here. Doesn't quite get the animal stun. He's looking for the cast stun. Ooh, nice wall. Gets some damage as well. 2 people are going onto Trix Tank. Teleport out. Going to waste a Rama ult as well as Smek runs away. Nice play there from TSM as they're going to get the right camp. Or rather, left camp. Right camp looks like it went to Shadow Nightmare, though. I think he went and soloed that.
Yeah, he was able to grab that one here. And, I was actually expecting Shadow to rotate a little bit earlier here. There's going to be something potentially here. Frostyak waiting for the stun. In comes one. Lobster taking a lot of damage. The portal is going to be able to get him through safely.
What a completely balanced move.
I love your humor in the morning.
Oh, man. 2 times now. What should have been a guaranteed kill was negated by the fact that he can just warp through walls. Incredible. I also attribute some of that to Half Devil going into the Ox form there as opposed to going for the Tiger.
Yeah? Well, what's the difference between the two? For those of us who don't know anything about the King. Even though I know everything because you don't stop talking about him.
The Ox is going to knock back.
Okay.
But it doesn't stop on one target. You can hit multiple targets with it. It's also immune to certain amounts of CC, whereas the Tiger is very much non-CC immune, but can stun only one target, stopping when it hits. Frostyak going into the air here. He's going to maybe just try to get out. Half Devil going to get healed up. Where does Frostyak land? Towards the mid lane. And again, another almost certain kill is negated, this time in favor of TSM, just barely. Looks like we'll get some free experience here in the left lane for Smek, and everyone's going to just wash it out.
Yep, Trix Tank's just going to go ahead and go through. Now, Half Devil really making his presence known. He's been everywhere. I mean, he's basically jungling for his team as well as Thor.
Yeah, my issue here is that he had a pretty good lead going on over Trix Tank, and now looking at it, he's actually kind of behind at this point. He's rotating maybe a bit too much. He does have 900 gold in hand right now, which is not enough to finish the Midas boots. Looking at Trix Tank, he's about 400 away as well, so they're pretty much dead even in the gold department in terms of relativity to their builds.
Yep. And now we're just going to see the junglers go ahead and grab their camps as now Half Devil and Funballer should be grabbing this blue. And I'm actually really keening in here on Funballer. I expect Funballer should be able to just wreck shop.
Well, I thought he was going to get first blood, but he didn't quite find the shots coming out from Astral Barrage. He did a decent amount of damage. Half Devil rotates topside. It looks like Ra's going to go for some damage as well. Lobster getting pretty low, probably going to be forced back.
Now, in case you guys are just tuning in and wondering why Game Hunter isn't in here, he wasn't able to make it. We do have Zimstar. So, although Azalea,
First played.
Yeah?
Speaking of Azalea. Now, this is curious. Now, it's going to give him protections against Guan, which is good.
Okay.
It's going to give him movement speed, which is great for damage, because, his ultimate needs, he needs to be able to keep up. It's going to give him attack speed, which, of course, is going to help. But what's cool here is it's going to reduce the amount of damage that Zimstar does with his abilities, and it'll also reduce the damage from Freya, considering she does use attack speed, and that passive will come out to hurt her as well. Now, I'm looking at the banish attempt here. Funball does manage to get away. There's a 4-man grouping here for TSM at the mid camps.
Oh, this is going to look good. I think Frostyak is getting ready to ult. We should be seeing an engagement here, right here on it. In comes Trix Tank taking a lot of damage already. The Cataclysm goes off. Frostyak up in the exit. There's one. Can he find a second? Smek barely any health. Down he goes to Funballer. Down goes Half Devil. And Cuvo Fred just destroying Freya so much damage.
Cuvo actually got a double kill with one shot. He turned around, dropped the last hit of Valkyrie's Discretion, and finds 2 people at low health. And what should have been an amazing initiation for Exposed Secrets, TSM winds up finding 2 more as well. But Exposed Secrets does have better farm right now. They got the first blood, and they do have the lead.
Yeah, and the big thing is Funbar is able to rotate back, grabs all that experience. He's going to be able to now rotate into the camps, get a little bit more, and then just continue to stat his lead, which is going to be huge for them. They need him to really just get into the rhythm as soon as humanly possible.
Half Devil actually didn't even get his ultimate off in the last fight. Whether it was on cooldown or he didn't quite cast it fast enough, I'm not 100% sure. But all I know is he got sent back to the base in a fashion I'm not sure he was too thrilled with. Trix Tank, who hasn't spent as much money on consumables, is now 200 gold ahead as well. Both of them have the Midas boots online, still hand 1.
And nothing too worrisome right now for Half Devil, but he is officially a level behind Trix Tank.
Right.
So there's so many times in this game where we just see,
damage.
there's so many times where you see in Smite where it's like, oh my God, he's now far behind, and as a sport, it's really, really difficult to get back into it.
Yeah, I mean, you're rotating a lot. You're spending a lot of your money on consumables. Trixtank's taking some damage, forced to shield there. Shockwave going to hit 2, plus the wave, as Smek's going to be forced back. Half Devil's going in. Oh,
Snap.
he actually stopped the moves. He wasted the Serenade. He's going to be forced into the ultimate. A very small victory, but I'm sure they're happy about it for Exposed Secrets.
Yeah, and this, that's good, just because they know now that there's going to be no rotation here from him for a long time.
Yeah, I mean,
that's big.
Yeah, that could be real, like a lot of trouble. Funball should use this to his advantage, given the fact that his ultimate does damage. He's going to have a major advantage going into the next boxing match, which means either one of two things: Funball can go for the major push, or Trixtank's going to have to babysit.
Yeah, well, Shadow Nightmare and
again with
Frostyak
this.
possibly going to be ready to go for this.
Banish
And,
missed.
Yeah. Oh, in come from behind. There's going to be a lot of damage. Cubo Fred taking so much. In comes the ultimate Shadow Nightmare, waiting for him to drop down. He is able to get one. Will he go down, though? Shadow is going to be able to chase. A lot of damage. The Geb Shield's going to be there, though. In comes the heal. TSM looks to turn this. Down he goes. That is a huge fight for them.
You know, me and Scott have been talking a lot about, getting him up,
Right?
up to speed, right? And one of the things we talk about Freya every time is the fact that you focus her down, and then she jumps out of the fight and kills you anyway. And again, this is probably the third time in 3 days that we have seen them focus Freya. She jumps out of the fight, gets a kill, lands, then there's a Geb shield. Her team's back there. She's getting all kinds of support from Janice with portals if she needed them. Right there, 3 kills and the buff there for Team SoloMid. That's going to be huge. The gold is equaled out, and they're now 1,000 experience ahead.
It's just it's one of those very, very difficult decisions, right? Because you're like, wow, I have to focus Freya right here. I need to, because she needs to die from this team fight because she does so much damage. But then you realize, oh, her team's here. I can't do this. So how do you even go about this?
Really, maybe you should stop focusing Freya. At this point in the game, she'll have a decent amount of damage, but not nearly enough to contend with someone like Janice or even Apollo. I mean, it really depends on what she's able to do. Valkyrie's discretion is just too threatening, and if you force her into it in the middle of the team fight before the CC has been applied, especially on characters who barely have beads built at this point. In fact, we have one instance of major CC break at this point with Purification beads coming out on Shadow Nightmare. It's just going to be a rough point. I mean, they don't have the damage to get her down, especially after Shadow Nightmare missed the Searing Pain in the beginning.
TSM blew all of their ultimates during that fight, with the exception of Smek, who didn't have his available because he wasted it that last time. So, will Exposed Secrets use that to their advantage? Probably not now, since everything's on the
they're already back up.
Yep.
I mean, by the time they really got themselves back in order, 20 seconds had been wasted, Farm came through, and now they're sitting pretty again. And I'm looking at Cuvo here, level 11 across the way. Frostyak is level 9, and Freya's one of those characters that gets ridiculous as the game goes on, whereas Thor is strongest in the beginning of the game, whereas Warrior's Madness is giving him much higher percent of his total damage, whereas late game it's barely going to contribute.
Now, walk me through this mystical male decision here from Zipstar.
This is going to be AoE damage, front to back. That's what he's looking for. It's going to help him clear waves, reducing the amount of mana that he has to spend to fight off Xaylia. Second, it's going to give him a ridiculous amount of health in 300, allowing him to go deeper. He can also augment that by healing himself up and giving himself extra protections with Tallow Assault. And then, of course, has a ridiculous amount of protection. 60 protections for physical is going to stop him from taking damage from Half Devil, Funball, Xaylia, and Frostyak.
Yep. On the other side here, Xaylia is going to be pushing out that Witchblade, as we're going to be taking a look. There might be a little bit of a grouping, potentially a Gold Fury, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Just based on the ward coverage, there is barely any here from Exposed Secrets. You only see one kind of right in the mid-Harpies on their side, so nothing deep in the TSM jungle, so I doubt they'll be going for it anytime soon.
Level 13 now, Lobster highest on his team, but I'm looking at Xaylia, who has kept his team in the game so far. Level 14,
Speaking
doing a
of
great
which,
job at farm.
Xaylia coming in high. Cubo Fred, will he be able to take down? This is not going to be the Banish here. That's going to be the Wukong ult. He's going to jump in. In comes Gab. He has Lobster with him as well. Will this turn out into one? And rest in pieces, Half Devil. Uh-oh, in comes Thor.
Well, it looks like Lobster's keeping himself alive there. Actually does get burned down by Shadow Nightmare, who puts himself in front of 3. But a great stun coming out from Frostyak. He can't dodge it. Cubo Fred, too smart. Doesn't spam it out. He takes his time in between shots. He aims them and gets the kill for the team. That's going to be a 1-for-1, actually 2-for-1 trade in favor of TSM.
2-for-1, choosing to not go for the Gold Fury here. Frostyak actually getting aggressive. He's going to go up, misses the stun. In comes the spin to win. The shield's going to be there, though. That's going to be an instant kill. Not sure what he was thinking. Smek unfortunately for him, isn't able to follow up here, but that is a very questionable call.
Let's talk about Trix Tank right there. He gets the shield on the Freya to keep her in the mix, and then perfectly times the shockwave to ensure that it hits him right as Thor throws Mjolnir's attunement, which means he's in the air. He can't teleport when he's in the air. The teleport gets wasted. His stun was already down. He gets burned down, forcing Fumball back to the lane with low mana against Smek, who doesn't seem too threatened.
Look, I get it, man. I'm on the Geb fan base as well, bro. I love him.
You know,
he's the best.
Geb can be as strong as you want. I mean, that was much less the character than we usually see, and that was all decision-making from Trix Tank. He could have been any support in the game, and if he played it that well, they still would have got that kill and gotten out.
Yeah, very, very good plays here for TSM. And as you can look, once I start noticing, at least from the matches that I've casted recently, once I start noticing these wards that are basically really deep in the exposed base, that's when I know everything's going according to plan here for TSM, because that's when they start feeling it. They get a little bit more lane presence, even though, you know, it's just always different to see.
Well, I mean, this is... I'm looking at the supports here, and you know me, these are my two favorite supports. I think these are the two top supports in the game right now.
Yeah.
Sun Wukong and Geb, as you can see them on the screen. Geb with a 51% win ratio, Wukong up to 60 right now. But strangely, the KDA belongs to Geb.
Yeah, well, I think that's just because of Ionic.
Oh, that's a fair point.
Ionic,
it's like a 7 KDA. Like, what in the world?
It was funny. I was playing last night with Snoopy, with Kevin, and I was like, you know, anyone can be your, you know, the hunter on your team.
Right.
Because, you know, it's Ionic. I was like, I could take your spot theoretically as long as I could hit an auto every once in every 16 shots.
Oh, man. Left side, three-man grouping. Looks like they're going to try to catch Fumball off guard here, and they just might do it. They hear the rollout. Fumball dodges it. They're going to turn to Half Devil. Using the Ox, hitting two, but getting stunned out. Forced into the ultimate there. Will just barely get up and get that heal off. That was actually a lot wasted for Team SoloMid, as both Lobster and Trix Tank... Oh, what in the world? Oh, I thought they were going to go for it. No,
yeah,
they did not.
I thought so too, based on the rotation here. We saw, the banish is up. Shadow Nightmare taking a little bit. Frostyak getting a piece of this. Nightmare could possibly turn this here as, he misses the ult. Frostyak still doing some damage. Misses the laser as well. Shadow Nightmare really needs to be careful. In comes Apollo. Apollo should have one kill here on Half Devil. Finally, it's going to go to Freya as well, so it's not going to be a bad thing. Frostyak, though, is coming through the back as Funbar is going to be able to get a kill.
Yeah, Fumball finds Cubo. Shadow Nightmare getting low as the cavalry charge come out. They're turning their sights to Shadow Nightmare. Looks like he's going to go down to Smek. Zalia trying to tank up a few. Colossal Fury is up, turning his sight to the tank, which is a bad call here. They're going to trade a 1-for-1 as Fumball and Zalia are going to try to fight 3.
Yep, well, Zalia trying to throw down as much damage as possible. Looks at Lobster, doesn't realize Smek's behind. There's going to be a little bit God, the portal.
This portal, man, it's just too disruptive. Zalia almost had that. He got the Umbrella Ring, but couldn't find the Armored Umbrella for the execute, and he will escape. Damage coming through to Funballer, going to be sent out by Zimstar on a character that has seen a lot of, I think, negative commentary lately, but he's doing a damn good job of keeping himself in line with a player who was so dominant the last time we saw him play this character.
Yeah, I agree. Now taking a look at the builds here as all the players are going back in, the action has died down just a little bit. Chronos Pendant coming out of Lobster.
Yeah.
This
is something we're seeing a lot from Janice, and I think this is something that's going to play very well as we get into the mid-game here. More portals means more chance at CC and more chances at escape. More unstable vortexes means more shotguns to the chest, which is going to ensure his maximum amount of damage. Cooldown is such an important part of this guy's kit.
Now, everyone knows, as a support, you rush Sovereignty,
yeah,
right?
You
get that out there. On Half Devil, though, choosing to go with this Emerald approach.
Yeah, it looks like he's more afraid of Cubo, Fred, and Lobster, but the issue is he's only helping himself at this point. There's no extra protections given to his team, and without Shell online, they're kind of a sitting duck. I think
In comes Thor.
Man.
Thor really spotting Fred right there. Wow. So much CC just gets blown up. Meanwhile, Half Devil now all by himself, waiting for his teammates to kind of get up there, forces another ultimate. Ra, Shadow Nightmare, Frostyak are trying to get in here. This might be a Gold Fury.
Cubo is a large part. In fact, between Cubo and Smek, that's pretty much 50% of the damage on the team, maybe even a little bit more. They have a massive amount of damage overall. Now, it looks like Frostyak's trying to keep Smek out, actually jumps into the back line, maybe even going for a sacrifice here. Thor, I think, nope, they're not going to have the chance to steal it. Nice body blocks coming out, and Trix Tank's going to pay for it.
Yep, Trix Tank down he goes. On the other side, Smek actually taking so much damage, so much stun. Oh my god, Thor just showing how good he is already. He's been hitting some big stuns in these past 2 team fights.
You know, and I think he is the reason they're staying in this game, because in the last engagement where we saw at the mid camps, he dives into the back line for the stun so his team can go into the front line. Shadow Nightmare almost foolishly attacks the wrong target, missing his ultimate completely, and then sacrificing himself in the process because he didn't go for the kill target in front of him. They tried to go for the greedy double kill and they didn't get it, and it seemed like a lack of communication was going to haunt them this game. But looking at the last 2 engagements, the way that they were able to use their abilities in tandem, of course led by Frostyak, who has been behind up until this point, or actually is still 2 levels behind Cubo Fred. He's bringing him back into it with smart plays and great calls.
And you know, he was looking for another kill there right in the mid lane. He barely
yeah.
missing that stun. Ra was just like, please, I will zap him to pieces. And you know, Shadow Nightmare, that's how he builds. I mean, you can see that early Bancroft. He would have loved to get his hands on a Fred right there.
Yeah, again, we see Shadow Nightmare going into this majorly aggressive mage build on Ra, but in this case, he has no choice. He is the only magic damage on the team. There is no other form of magical damage on the map for his team, including camps or titans or phoenixes.
Yep. And now, why did Smek build a Witchblade?
Smek is gonna. Whoa.
Yeah, I don't.
Well,
I don't
again,
get it.
It has to play to the fact that there are 4 physical on the team. This is going to give him protections. It's going to reduce their damage overall. I don't know that they needed 2 of them, but it does increase his attack speed and movement speed. But, I mean, Apollo's not really a character that relies too much on attack speed. Audacity gives him 100% extra for 5 shots after 10 landed auto attacks. I mean, there's really not a necessary item, but I guess he feels the need to get a little bit of extra defense.
And it looks like we do have the grouping. Both Harpies are actually going to go in favor of Exposed. They only lost 1 to TSM.
Right.
Only 1. So they're still looking good. And comes the stun. Trix Tank taking a lot of damage here. They're not going to follow up. There's no point in diving a gap.
It's interesting to me to see the line that Exposed Secrets have taken here. They're 3,000 gold ahead. Right side is actually open. I'm surprised to see a rotation coming out from Zalia when he had basically another free wave plus maybe some free tower damage. Zipstar forced back to mid lane as the tower does go down and the pressure continues.
Yep, and so I think they're going to look to push down just a little bit. Frostyak getting caught out. There's a lot of damage on him. He is going to be able to get out. His Half Devil is going to disrupt that. You can see that raw heal
drop ship time. They're trying to cut it off. Frostyak might be in some trouble. Goes down. Half Devil kind of caught out of position here as we're seeing some shots rain down from Funball, but not nearly enough. Cubo Fred trying to get some damage onto Zalia, but he's just too tanky.
He's so big. In comes the ultimate.
But
their Lobster's going to be able to get out because of the portal. Zalia is going to be really pissed going into the sideline. Trix Tank still staying alive here. Half Devil. Oh my God, Funballer is the last remaining hope. You have your work cut out for you, buddy.
How in the world did Lobster? And look at the presence of mind. He gets out and comes back in for the support to make sure his team can go for it. 5 dead. That's a full deicide with only Frostyak coming up. Smek has a decent amount of health with lifesteal. Zimstar can tank this one up with the amount of protections that he's given himself. And then here comes Cubo Fred for the burst. By the time this starts to get low, Trix Tank will be here ready with the hand 3 in tandem, going for the 21-minute Fire Giant kill. TSM's going to take the lead here.
Yeah, this is going to be big. Now, this is good. They always play for the objectives. This is what we know from TSM. And the fact that they're winning in the kill department as well means this is a very, very strong TSM in this game. That is their game to lose. They're going to come back into the lane with such better items and everything, and I don't know how Exposed answers this.
Well, they're now 8 kills behind. They still have a 700 gold lead, but they're 3,300 down in experience, and the overall damage with that Fire Giant buff on all 5 people is massively in favor of Team SoloMid. Taking a look at the board, Zalia going to be opting into a talisman here. That's likely going to be Stone of Gaia. We're going to see Frostyak going into either Titan's Bane or Jotun's. Or actually, Jotun's already finished. This will probably be a Titan's Bane. They don't have to worry about too much healing going on, so it's doubtful this will be a beat stick. Shadow Nightmare has, I think, an option here. He can go into Chronos Pendant, he can go into Rod. This probably will be Chronos Pendant as, I guess, perceived from his previous builds. Funballer's getting his crit online, and Half Devil finally getting into Sovereignty, but this is very late.
Yeah, I think the Stone of Gaia really kind of slowed everything up. I think if he would have built Sovereignty, these fights could have been a little bit different, but even still, I mean, it really comes down to the plays from Lobster. I mean, him staying alive makes the world of difference because
Four times he has negated a kill now, whether it's on himself or a teammate, by effectively using that portal as an escape mechanic as opposed to an aggressive mechanic. Now, stun coming out, gonna hit Trix Tank, but unfortunately he does not find either proc of Mjolnir's attunement. Not gonna get much there. In fact, he's gonna lose a fair chunk of his mana, though it is coming back fairly quickly.
And, you know, Exposed really needs to up the ward coverage right now just because it is going to be very difficult as we are going to be seeing a Gold Fury attempt.
Too little, too late. Again, TSM finds themselves with an objective. That's going to give them the gold lead and massively increase their experience difference as well, 4,500.
Yeah, and you are seeing a split pushing here out of Apollo. That's going to be Smek. That's going to be one tower. Fire Giant just ripping through that. They're going to push this far wave, and now it's going to be on to the next turret and tower, and TSM's going to have a very difficult time.
I mean, this is the power of Apollo. This split push potential, forcing teams to one side of the map. Now, they're going to try to contend here, and look at this. Two people rotate over. He immediately dips out. This is going to force a 5v3 as Apollo's going to dive, it looks like, right for it.
Yeah, in comes now Trix Tank doing a little bit of damage here. Zimstar just going to force him out here. Fred actually tanking the tower now as the aggro is finally going to change, but look at how quick the tower goes through. You can see the pings are going to go into the mid lane here. This is going to be tough.
You know, that was textbook Apollo play. Smek really orchestrated that entire push. They gained 3 towers overall, a tier 1 on right and both towers on left, increasing their gold lead now to a pretty substantial amount, 3,400, but now the experience difference up to 64 as well. You see that reflected in the levels, 2 level 20s, an 18 and a 19 now, comparatively to a 19 and a 20 over in the side and Exposed Secrets, not to mention there's still a Fire Giant buff active, giving them extra sustain. 4-man Cataclysm, the dream!
Oh my god, so much damage come down. Somehow Frostiac staying alive, and he's just getting just erased off the board. Half Devil trying to do everything he can. Zalia, it's going to be the big baby. It has so much health, but he still is in a world of trouble here as Zimstar still clearing everything out. Half Devil forced the ultimate, but meanwhile the tower does go down.
All the while, 3 shots of Astral Barrage hit Cubo Fred and barely even scratch him. The HP 5 that's given to him by the Fire Giant buff, on top of the fact that he does have the Guan Heal Conviction coming through, it's keeping him, he's actually back to full health. Also, Freya gaining a massive amount of lifesteal from her passive, and she'll be building into Bancroft's Talon. Right, oh, I'm looking at it. I mean, he just has so much lifesteal. It's incredible.
I know, man. You know, TSM looks like the strongest team in Europe right now that we've seen out of week 2. Or week 3, whatever week this is. Yeah, it's week 3.
Yeah.
They really are that strong.
I mean, this is...
Mortality, a lot of chinks in their armor. I mean,
right.
We see them coming up next, but TSM, they look like the strongest team in my eyes.
Right now, it's seeming so. They have made such an amazing comeback, similarly to how we're seeing Dignitas in the North American scene. They were behind in the beginning. They're really starting to make a comeback, and they're really showing dominance. And this, you have to remember, is without Game Hunter. You know, you ask a lot of people who's the best player on TSM, a lot of them will come back to you with Game Hunter. So to see them playing this well without a player that most people consider to be their ringer, I mean, that's incredible. Is that, you know, is it Zimstar doing amazing at 407, or is it the teamwork coming out from Lobster? I think it's just teamwork, period.
That's kind of what TSM's known for, though, right? Like, on every team, you have that, like, stand-up player. Like, you have your Zalia, right? You know, coming from Exposed. But on TSM, it's really the collective of all of them. If someone gets steamrolled in lane, the other guys always pick up the slack, which is why I think TSM does so well as soon as it goes into the later game stages. I really do. I think they're that good.
So, Fire Giant's about to respawn here, Scott. We're going to get probably a pretty big grouping here. Actually, we're going to see Cubo do some real good damage. Actually dodge some himself from Zalia. The team's going to back up. Lobster teleports off the wall, throws the threshold down to get Trix in there faster, and they're going to rotate in. Now, Cubo Fred will likely do some damage for 1 or 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds, and then he's going to turn around and he's going to look for the banish.
Now, here comes the push from Exposed
Thor's
Secrets.
up.
They have to contest this.
Thor's
going to be up in the air, and there's going to be the fight. Where is he going? He's going to go straight down. Fred's going to take a lot of damage, but up in the air he goes. Zalia coming around on the weak side here. He does have to worry about Lobster behind him, and in comes the big baby, but he has no teammates to follow up. Meanwhile, Frostiak's just getting banged on like a drum. Shadow Nightmare trying to do as much damage, but he's barely hitting them at all.
Cubo is just chasing down Zalia. Lobster's getting in there as well. He gets a nice shot from the Unstable Vortex. He's going to go down. First one going down is the most tanky. 3-man Cataclysm going to switch things up as it looks like Trix Tank's going to make an opportunity for his team once again. Frostiak goes down. That's 2. They're going to lose a lot of their damage here as the fight continues.
Yeah, and Shadow Nightmare yet to rip this ultimate. He really should have done it a little bit ago just to throw down the damage. I mean, you're taking a look at the health. He had a chance to do it. Trix Tank actually taking a lot of damage
Funball
from
gets
that
baited
one.
by it, though. He lands from the banish inside the unstable vortex, taking way too much damage, and he'll go down as well.
And that fight was all over the place for Exposed Secrets. I mean, you saw Azalea basically in a 1-on-3 waiting for his team to have any kind of follow-up. Shadow Nightmare now going to be trying to go in here on Lobster. He's going to miss the laser. Wisely just going to go ahead and rotate back. And this is probably going to be the Fire Giant.
Yeah, I like this opportunity. I mean, take it as quickly as possible. In fact, they're going to go for the jungle first. They actually forced out Shadow Nightmare, who's going to be forced back into a respawn.
Erased. And, you know, that's going to be 4 members down as 2 of them just pop up in Frostyak and Zalia. And this is going to be another Fire Giant here. We do have Half Devil in a position to do something, though.
All eyes are on Half Devil right now. He's taking a lot of damage. I don't even think he can go for this one. He needs to get out of there. He needs to turn tail. Oh, he's going to get double banished right through the world, back down to the ground. Bird out of there. Make sure he's CC immune. Fire Giant, Team SoloMid, number 2.
This is going to most likely be game. Now, Frostyak actually choosing to go with the Brawler's Beat Stick.
Yeah, you know, we talked a little bit about this before. I actually kind of veered away from this because I figured it was going to be a Titan's Bane, but this will give him 20 penetration and 40 power, which is huge, and it's going to reduce healing as well. Now, healing on the other team, Zimstar can heal his entire team. With conviction. Cuvo Fred has a massive amount of lifesteal between his passive and then, of course, Bancroft's Talon. We're going to see Smek having those dev gloves. That'll be reduced. But aside from that, I mean, there really isn't all that much. I mean, generally speaking, that's an item that you build against someone like Vamana or someone like Hell.
Yeah.
So, a little curious to see him go for that.
Man, well, right now it's just going to be TSM going with everything routine. If you're new to Smite, this is what you do. You get your Fire Giant, you know they're in your base, you push your lanes, you keep the pressure on them at all costs.
So all 3 tier 2s are down, which leave all 3 lanes exposed, no pun intended, against the Exposed Secrets. They're going to see a group up here, possibly a 4-man group and a 1-man push there from Apollo, but they're going to be able to push together. I'm not really sure why Smek's at the mid camps right now. Yes, he's going to start grouping up, and they're going to have to be careful here because we've seen so many teams throw in this situation.
We have. Exposed by no means, they are not out of this at all.
Definitely.
We've seen it. They have 3 of their Phoenixes up. If one of them was down, I'd say, okay, things are getting a little bit dicey here. Frostyak is going to take to the sky, though. This is going to be the engagement. They're going to need it, and in he comes.
Got 3 and a lot of damage onto Kubo, who takes to the sky himself, as well as Funball. Raining damage down. He's looking for Lobster. One more hit, but he misses. Zalia trying to get some damage done. His healing has been reduced. You can see not much gain there as Smek finally joins the fight. This is going to be trouble for Exposed Secrets. The turnaround is coming.
Shadow Nightmare does have to worry about Lobster. Down he goes as well. That's going to be 2. Funball now all the way in the middle of nowhere, finally helping. Down he goes, all up to Zalia and Funball here. This is going to be a guaranteed Phoenix as Freya is just so dominant.
You can't let her get up, and if you do, you gotta spread out. There's too much stacking up going on. Now, poor Zalia and Funball against a team that is building a lot of physical defense has really no option of burning this down. If I was a betting man, Scott, and I am, this one's gonna be Team SoloMids.
Oh yeah, you finished.
I wasn't looking at the screen.
Yeah, sure you were.
I'm looking at you.
By the way, if you guys don't know anything about DM, is that he gets text messages from these teams ahead of time, so that's his betting man. Sense,
I know everything.
But dude, TSM in amazing control throughout this entire game, and let's go ahead and take a look at the stats.
So right off the bat, Funball actually topping his team at 18.9, almost 19,000. Shadow Nightmare right behind at 18K. But let's ignore that and talk about 31,000 damage coming out from Freya.
Yeah.
That, or we can talk about Zimstar out healing Ra.
You can also talk about the fact that damage-wise, 31,000 out of Freya, right? That's basically the Smek and Zimstar put together.
Yeah. She
is making up for 2, her solo and her hunter. That's insane.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, Freya just controls too much. She had 2 deaths there, and a very early death at that. I mean, 13-8. We're going to be checking in with a replay from Cuvo Fred as he shows why this character is just oh so dominant.
I just don't know what to do versus Freya. But anyways, taking a look here, you're going to see there's going to be 1, and now there's going to be another one here, and this is just going to be a push-up routine. Doesn't even need to take to the sky yet, just throwing down so much damage. The Banish really just controlling this fight every single time.
I love the way that he plays. I mean, he's just so safe, always putting himself in a great spot, and you got to give it to Trix Tank as well, because every time Freya's in trouble, there's a shield around her for the cleanse. He has the beads ready as well whenever he needs it. He's just so smart about the way that he plays. I mean, the banishes are perfect, his rotations are great, and every single time that he's in a situation where he's on cooldown, he starts to run away, and I love that.
Yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to hop to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have the second match for you. Stay tuned.